My ministerial journey has involved at one point moving 9 times in 15 years. Thankfully, Mike, I've been at the same spot now for just a few months shy of 25 years.
Yeah.
And have no desire to pack up this house and move it anywhere else. There's just too much stuff. It would take me a year to sell it down to a moving condition. And I know you've
Barry, I mean, think about it this way. I mean, it was right after you moved into that house that you met me. So look at the stability I brought you.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed at your influence, Mike. I mean, I'm still sitting here in a stunned, overwhelmed stupor.
You're welcome.
Let's pause and think about that. Okay, that's enough. Hey, now, I know you have moved multiple times since I met you, so there's some influence for you, huh?
Yeah, in fact, today's our anniversary.
Of moving to that house?
No, we've been here for 7 years, and it seems like since Kathy and I have been married, most every 7 years we have moved somewhere, which we're really praying that it doesn't happen. But no, it was 13 years ago today that a tornado went over our house.
Oh, in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, there's
go ahead. I interrupted you totally.
Well,
I can do it again.
No, that was enough. In the process of moving from one place to the other, we lived in rental properties. We lived in church-owned properties like a parsonage. It was a place to live, and my wife can make it homey, make it enjoyable to be there. I mean, her touch and her presence there is a great solidifying factor. But
she can foofisize it.
I'm going to leave that right there where it's at. I'm not touching that one.
Hi, Laura.
There is a difference, though, between living in a house and having a home. A place where it's yours. You don't have to worry about whether the landlord is going to come in and say, well, look, I'm selling the property. You're going to have to move unless you want to buy it, which has happened before.
Yeah.
So in regards to that, are we, here's the question for you to answer. In our processes of establishing this house and our congregational house, if we have such, or our living room house for those who gather with us in our living room. For those who are going through that experience, are we just creating a rental property for him to come in and visit, where we still claim landlord rights, where we can say, we're moving and you got to go? Or we created a home for him. Isaiah 66, verse 1. Thus said Yahweh, the heavens are my throne and the earth is my footstool. Where is this house you build for me? And where is the place of my rest? So I'm waiting for your theological discourse and wisdom on the subject, Mike.
So this subject has come out. We discussed this briefly because of a verse that I've gotten stuck on for 3 weeks. Both with Life Assembly, I've been teaching through the book of Yochanan. I turned that into a message called Zeal for His House, which is available for my website. Unashamed plug. And it's in Yochanan, John chapter 3. Interesting enough, in the 3 Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, in the cleansing of the temple, he goes in and he overthrows the money changers, all those things. And it says, my house is to be a house of prayer, quoting Isaiah chapter 56. a house of prayer for all nations. You've turned it into a den of thieves or robbers, quoting another verse from the Tanakh. But in the book of Yochanan, he said it is not his words that are quoted here. It is that it says his Talmudim, his disciples, later recalled that the Tanakh says, "Zeal for your house has devoured me," which is out of Psalm 69. So in the first three Gospels, they quote Yeshua. In John, they reveal the reason for his quote. So they saw the emotion, they saw what was going on, they saw the feelings and drive behind the words that he spoke.
This is located in John 3?
John chapter 2. Okay, back up. I used this again last week in talking about John chapter 3. So John chapter 2, verse 17. So it is a zeal, and you quoted verses going into this. There's a zealousness for his house, but I want to question, is the zealousness for his house, or is it a zealousness for his home? And the reason he's zealous for the house is because, for the most part, mankind has never allowed his house to be his home. They have religion, man's desire for power, man's desire for control, man's desire for money, man's desire for all of this has manipulated his house so that it could no longer be his home.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts?
Mike, you and I both have gone to enough people's houses as a guest, being a speaker or whatever, and staying with them in their home, to have the experience of going through the door with your suitcase in hand, and you're immediately looking for, how do things operate in this house? Do I take my shoes off at the door and only, walk around in my socks?
Is the dog going to bite me?
Do they have dogs? Do they have cats? Where's the bathroom? Where do they normally sit? Is it, they had the formal living room that you're not supposed to go in, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The often repeated phrase is, make yourself at home. Even that, being in someone else's house or their home, you only take that so far. I'm not going to live as casually in their home as I might in mine, because no matter how inviting they may be, I'm still a guest. And I try to be mindful of that. Yeah. When it comes to Yah's house, we set protocols of religious expectations, cultural, traditional expectations. Leadership personalities have a part to play. Location has a part to play. Sometimes, you're renting a facility like you guys do. You can only make it so much your own. That's what we're doing. We've been there long enough that we are able to add a lot of our own flavor, but we're still hungry to have our own place that we can make his own place. So the aspect of it is how inviting you. The cultural trend is to make it inviting to the seeker friendlyisms. We're trying to make it available to those who want to find him. But the first priority is, Father, how do we make this place yours? It's not going to be the temple. It will never replace what should be in Jerusalem. We understand that. But he resides among his people. How, Father, do we make this place yours? How do we reflect that this is your house and that we're guests here even though we're paying the utility bills and keeping the lights on.
Well, I think you got into something there. So I've been in those situations, wow, more times than I want to remember, and some of them I really don't want to remember.
There's a few.
Yeah, somebody says, make yourself at home, and that basically means you're on your own. I'm doing nothing for you. Stay with someone, and this, I won't give any time frames. Nobody could tell where I was at. So I stayed with someone one night, and I got to the house, and they literally didn't even give me a chair to sit in. It wasn't, could we get you something to drink? I mean, it's like the kitchen's in there if you want water. They didn't even say that. It was like, well, your room's that way. Okay, great. It's been nice. It may have been a house, but and you can say anything, but I didn't feel it. I didn't feel comfortable at all. The only thing I wanted to do is leave, and I would have gladly paid for a hotel room that night to not have to be in a place that I don't feel at all welcome in. So you mentioned things like seeker friendly and stuff like that, and the guys and I have been on this thing of worship over the last few weeks on Life on Purpose, about form and function and stuff. And I mentioned a church that I drive by occasionally, and it says, traditional service, 10 o'clock, or no, contemporary service, 10 o'clock, traditional service, 11 o'clock. The question is, in saying that we want to make this into a home, the place, and I understand that we were always told growing up, you come to the house of God, hallelujah. It was a building, okay. That he only has one place that he really calls his house, and that is on the Temple Mount, and that's another discussion. But in stating that we want to make it a place that he's comfortable in, are we only trying to make it comfortable for the people that are there? So this time, if you like the worship, if you like this kind of music, show up at this time. This kind of music, show up at this time. If you want liturgy, show up at this time. If you want no liturgy, show up at this time. If you want wine, show up at this time. If you want grape juice, show up at this time. And who's sitting there going, wait a minute, what does he want? Okay, what music does he want to listen to this week? What kind of message does he want? What do what is it that it's ironically funny to me, Barry, that we call it a service and nobody serves, or very few people serve. Why do we call it a service?
Because they come to be served.
Ah, wow, I hadn't thought about that. So it's called a service because the people want to be served, not because they want to serve. So it's not his house, it's their house.
The traditional mindset is we come for the preacher to do what we pay him for.
Yes.
To serve us with the word. This brings to mind something that happened yesterday. Laura and I were out taking care of some errands and happened to be in a particular store. And there were two ladies talking in the aisle. One evidently was complaining about her church situation, as it might have been, whatever that was. I didn't hear that part. Laura came over to where I was at and was laughing. She said, the other lady said, well, I told you should be coming to my church. He's preaching it right out of the book. Where else would he be preaching from? I mean, that Reader's Digest or some other? I don't know.
In this day, you could say a lot of different places. That therein lies a ironically funny statement to me. Is well, my preacher preaches the Bible, okay, and he's doing that on Easter, and he's doing that on Christmas, and he's preaching against Shabbat. And he's telling you to go out and get a barbecue, pulled pork sandwich after church. Come on now.
Mike.
I mean, I know that I don't have it all right. Okay, I got that. I look back at things that I've taught through the years. Fortunately, my teaching has changed and grown, hopefully, and it still has something to do. But, Barry, I try to prepare for a service, and I try to, in working with my son Daniel, one of my things that I refuse to ever do is to tell him what to do for music.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want. Might mention something, but very seldom do I do this. I don't want to go in there with any thought about what I want to hear. I want to go in there with the thought of what he wants to hear. I want to go in with my message, with whatever liturgy that I do of lighting the menorah, of things that we do. I want the service to be centered upon making him welcome in the room, not making me welcome in the room. And if somebody's uncomfortable in the room, well, maybe they need to find another house. I just saying. I mean, I don't like people to leave, but if you don't feel comfortable in the house, but he feels comfortable in the house, then if I got to choose between you being comfortable and him being comfortable, you out the door.
When we started House of David, I came out with an understanding of a statement that he had given me. Don't recreate what you come out of.
Yeah.
Don't start another denomination. Don't start another church type thing with the church mentality. And I'm not throwing a stone against those that are in the church. I'm not doing that. However, my mantra was, if the church does it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, little pendulum swing there, Mr. Phillips.
So I was, in those early days, I was anti-church out of a form of thinking.
Yeah.
Well, after about 2 years of that, it wasn't as successful as I thought it should be. And we were having some problems, just like we did in the church that I was pastoring. And out of frustration, I'm going to the Father in prayer saying, I don't get it. I'm doing what you said to do, and I'm not doing what you said not to do. Why isn't this working better? Is the basic gist of the prayer. And I cried out to him. I was in the building that we were in, and I was crying out to him, what did you mean when you said, don't recreate what you come out of? Because there are times that he spoke to me and I heard what he said, but I didn't understand what he said.
Yeah.
Hearing is not necessarily understanding. And he said, purity of heart. That's not what I was anticipating. I said, Father, I thought you were talking about mechanics, the way we do things. And he said to me, son, I can bless mechanics if they're done with a pure heart. So that left me stunned and swirling for a few days. And I was driving down the Colonial Parkway, headed from Gloucester to Williamsburg. As I'm driving by, the river's on my right hand, York River, and I'm just watching the scenery of nature and watching for deer to be out in front of my vehicle. And I'm praying, and I said, Father, what are your mechanics?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a novel question for you, and that kind of goes to the heart of what we're talking about. He said, the tabernacle. The tabernacle is the line of my protocol for approaching me. So I set about to reorient and restructure our service, quote unquote, our presentation and our gathering, to come through his gates with praise and approach his altar and announce who Yeshua is. I have an elder then that takes us to the labor where we reflect on the word and see where it is that we need to be corrected. I have an elder who lights the menorah. I stand and break the bread of the presence from the word and teach the Torah portion. And then we proceed to the golden altar to offer our prayers. That's as close to a temple protocol as that I know how to do. And it's all in an effort of ordering things according to his order and not what is convenient for me or preferable by anyone else. That said, Mike, it's not like the glory cloud comes down every Shabbat and we just sit stunned in his presence. No, we still have people trafficking back and forth to the bathroom and going into where the food's at and getting a snack or a cup of coffee, or children still laugh and play. And I've told young mothers, if I can't speak and teach over a child goo-gooing and playing in the floor or something other, I need to hand in whatever paperwork I got. Yeah. At this point, that shouldn't be a problem, and it's not. It all comes down to, I think, how much of the personal house preparation am I bringing to the corporate house experience? If I come prepared, my house is in order. I'm not bringing my junk from the week and my anger or angst at somebody, my road rage, trying to get to the gathering. If I come in with my heart in the right place, my mind focused on what I'm coming there for, and I've been pushing this for weeks now, edifying. My goal is to go and to edify someone, to build someone else up. I'm not coming just to receive. I'm coming to give, to righteously influence and encourage others. It could be a hug. It could be a big smile. It could be a time of prayer with someone. A meaningful, hey, how are you doing? Not, hey, how's it going? Yeah. How are you? Are you okay? Those kinds of things where I try to edify someone else. If I do my part and others are doing their part, then the expectation is that Yah will do what he does and meet with us corporately.
You bring up about three different things here. Are we trying to build a house or are we trying to build a home? That's, I guess that comes down to where I've been at for quite some time. When it comes to the temple in Jerusalem, should we be involved in the process of a temple being reconstructed on the Temple Mount? I believe so. Mm-hmm. But if we're not working on the home, if we're not working on what we're going to bring into that, then maybe we ought to kind of sit back and wonder if, are we just bringing something, or we're just trying to build something he's going to have to destroy again? That's one level. Number two is when you come into, you mentioned leave your stuff. A lot of people come into a weekly service with their stuff. In the temple, in the tabernacle and temple structure of worship, when you came into that, the first thing you did is you put something to death on the altar in the outer court. You didn't come into the holy place, the Holy of Holies, with the stuff. You put it to death outside. And I've seen a lot of times through the years where there needs to be, for the kadosh nature, the holy nature of what is to happen in the building, people need to stop at the door and put their stuff to death. If you've had an argument with your spouse on the way to congregation, you might want to stay in the car until you can put that to death. Mm-hmm. If your world is a mess, stay outside for a few minutes and put it to death. Just leave it outside. Leave it in the outer court. You don't need to bring in that other stuff because you may affect someone else's worship. Am I saying that we should come in with this big smile like nothing ever happens in our life? No. But there's a way to bring your stuff in, and there's a way not to.
Certainly, we have brokenness, we have pains, we have things that come up, and we come in and we're needing help.
Yeah.
And the body of Messiah will gather around. I've seen it many times, especially the ladies, very, very sensitive. We had someone recently come in, and obviously something was wrong. They were trying to function, but no, and the ladies just gathered around them, loved on them, prayed over them until there was a release. And I tell you what, if you're the adversary, you don't want House of David women praying about what you're trying to do, because they will beat and bruise you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that we should not come in for because we need healing, but what's the attitude you come in with? Is it like well, bless me if you can, or are you toxic when you walk in?
That's the key word. Are you coming in needing or toxic?
Yeah, there's a two. There's a difference. It's and when it comes to form, Barry, going to something that Ryan Cribb said Monday night, just released on Life on Purpose. It took the same amount of gold to make the golden calf as it did the menorah. Yeah, you can steal that one too. I've given him credit once. What we have, what he's given to us, our life can become. We can mold our life into a golden calf or a menorah. Either one, it's our choice. Either one, it looks pretty, but only one can be used for the function of worship unto him. The other one is idolatry. And so what I'm trying to bring that around to is this: when it comes to the structure that he's given to us, we can turn that structure into a place of worship, or we can turn that structure into a golden calf. The choice is ours. In our own life, the choice is ours. What are we seeking to do? Are we seeking to make whatever structure that he's given to us in exile into a place that's welcoming for him or welcoming for us? If it's welcoming, if we're trying to focus on what is welcoming to us, that is a golden calf. And a golden calf, I've taught on the menorah. You guys light the menorah the same as we do every week. The golden calf cannot bring forth the spirit of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. It cannot bring forth the spirit of wisdom, of understanding, of power, of counsel. It cannot bring forth any type of his spirit. Only the menorah can. So we must make a choice. Do we want his spirit or a cow? Moo.
So when Yeshua went into the temple courts, man had created license to conduct business and design a religious system that was profiteering of those that were trying to worship. And there's a whole nother angle on this. Yeshua was saying, you have taken this from the Father's agenda to your own agenda. This is supposed to be a place where you pray and connect with him, and you've made it about merchandising and profiteering for your own benefit. It's the same thing as was described in Jeremiah 23 and Ezekiel 34, where shepherds abuse sheep and fleece them for their own benefit without caring for them. If we have his house in order, we will be passionate toward him, worshiping him, and then compassionate toward those who approach.
Yeah.
Passion to the Father, compassionate toward the people. If it's not that, if it's a personality presentation, it's based on charisma, if it's based on talent and skills, you may not be the best teacher in the world, but if you lead an honest approach to the word, Yah will use you. You may not be the best singer in the world, but if you can passionately worship him and exalt him, the Father can use you. You may not have the most to give in the world, but if you give of what you have,
Yeah.
the Father will honor and bless you. Start where you are. Do a sincere, honest, heartfelt approach to seeking him and leading others to do the same. And the Father will grow us. You know, Mike, we haven't got it all together 100% as to what, it should be, perhaps.
Yeah.
We do the best that we know and understand how to do while we're in exile. But if we're open in our heart to hear from him, Father, what else is it that I can do to make this not just a building, but your house? Knowing this will never be the temple. This will never be a Levitical offering to you. But Father, in exile, we seek to worship you to the best of our ability. We want a house. The same thing that we do in our congregational or living room approach, however it is that we're gathering, we also have to focus here. How do I order this house to where it's your house and not just a spare room that I give you?
Well, you mentioned what we bring into him. Never feel guilty for your lack of being for your lack. Whatever he's given you, bring it. We should not. Well, I can only do this. Okay, I woke up this morning, checked my email, and I had a PayPal from someone that we have. We're as we're supported by others, and I received a PayPal this morning from a person that gives $10 a month. Now, it's not a lot of money. That doesn't pay a lot of bills regarding internet and all the stuff that we have to deal with. There's people that give much more than that, but there's something about that $10 PayPal that I get every month that brings a smile to my face.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the person, that's what they can do. So person should never feel guilty because, well, I can't sing as good as Barry Phillips. Okay, so what? But you can do what you can do. I can't teach like whoever, but you can do what you can do. We should never feel guilty about what we can't do. We should bring what we can.
Absolutely.
And we should bring it with a whole heart unto him. I've spent the last few weeks, part of what I got going on here was I taught on the gospel according to the letter Aleph. And interesting enough, I taught a series of the Sukkot after the tornado when you came. I taught that week on the gospel according to some of the Hebrew letters, one of them being Aleph, which is the letter that points us to the Father. Briefly, the letter Aleph has a numeric value, gematria value of 26, which is the same gematria value as Yud He Vav He. So a lot of things going on there. It points us to him. And if we look at some words, one of them being Adam or Adam, it's Aleph, Dalet, and a final Mem. So Aleph is the animation of Adam. It's what it's what brought him life. But if you take the Aleph out of Adam, you have blood, Dam, which is the word for blood. So without God, we have dying blood. Without his presence in our places that we come, there may be life, but it's dying. The other one was Aish, which is man. If we take the which is Aleph, Yod, Shin, And if we take the aleph out of the word for man, we have yod shin, which is the word for which is the Hebrew word that means substance. So we can have substance, but without spirit. We can have a house, but not a home.
Mm-hmm.
Let us strive to put him back in every, which will make our houses into homes and a place that he feels welcome in being.
Well, Mike, we run out of time.
Yeah.
We had a
little
little
edit
bit
there
of
in the middle because of some issues, but
yeah, a little internet issues. Let me mention also, we mentioned this last time, there is a conference that you and I will be speaking at June the 2nd and the 3rd in back in my old hometown in the Martinsville, Henry County area. Kingdom Treasures Old and New, an Hebraic conference that you and I will be speaking at. This is put together by my sister Leanne Bray. The contact information will be in the notes on this video, and if you're within driving distance, we'd love to have you to come out and be a part of that. This is going to be geared toward those that are still investigating, trying to figure it all out, as well as hopefully ministering to those that have been in this for a while. And this is not a tour of golden nuggets. This is going to be something a little bit more in depth than that, I would think.
But if you want to sign up for the Sunday tour of Grassy Creek, please do. No.
Expect to be thrilled.
And on a programming note, Barry's on vacation next week. I'm going to be helping somebody in moving. So we will not have a Foundations for Life next week. Of course, what you can do is go back and watch this one again or start binge watching. Yeah. How many episodes do we have, Barry? Do you remember?
This is 155.
155. All right. Well, that should give us people something to do for a week.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. Hey, have a great time on vacation.
Yeah, we're going to try to rest up a little bit.
Enjoy.
Yes, sir. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.